That year, October 2020, I had my first $50,000 month. $50,000 month. When that February of 2020, I made $0. Like, tell me how that is possible. Tell me how that's logically possible. Like, if you were to ask somebody strategically, how does this happen? They won't tell you that. I had no choice but to make a six-figure income in my 20s. But unfortunately, I had no idea how to make a single dollar on my own. And I was not about to work a 9-to-5 job for the rest of my life. Okay, so what I did was basically gaslight myself into making multi six figures in my 20s. And I'm not gatekeeping here. I'm literally giving you the tea. I'm giving you everything on how you too can make that much amount of money. So grab your snacks, grab a drink, grab your blanket, get all comfy, because I'm going to brainwash you in the next like 10 or 20 minutes and how to gaslight yourself to make so much fucking money that people are going to literally wonder, did she like rob a bank or something? Because money is flowing her way. Now, let me tell you something. I was so tired of where I was at. I was tired of being broke. I was tired of being poor. I was tired of not having enough money to go on vacation. I was tired of seeing everybody else on social media literally live their life to a point where I was stuck at home living at my dad's house. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what am I doing right now in my life? I need to change myself, right? And in order for me to change myself, I knew I had to change me, because back then I was literally like sobbing away tears. I was feeling so bad about myself. I was literally like venting and complaining to all my friends every single time I saw them that my life sucks. And I was not about to do that anymore. Like, I had just graduated college. I was 21 years old, and I'm like, how did my life get to this point? How did I get to this point where I was going through a heartbreak? I was living at my dad's house. I was only making like $500 a month. And I was like a really, really, really good person, like a really good student. But somehow everything just started to crumble in my life. And I'm like, okay, I know the key to fixing my life is actually making money. Now, I know some of you guys are going to be like, no, that's not like the key to fixing life. But for me, it was, because I didn't want to live at my dad's house. I wanted to move to Florida. I wanted to have my own business because I didn't want to work a job. I wanted to make my own money so I can buy my own clothes. I can go on vacation, and thus that would make me happier, right? So everybody who says like money doesn't buy you happiness, they don't have money. Okay, they don't. But this is what I did to actually change my circumstances, change my identity, and change into a person who was actually able to attract not just $100,000, not just $200,000, but close to $500,000 in her 20s. Now, the first thing you want to do to gaslight yourself into making $100,000, honestly, any amount of money you want, is acting like you already have it. This is the difference between somebody who does all of the action towards getting what they want in their life but not actually receiving it, versus somebody that you see literally a stranger on the street going into restaurants, getting all the free stuff, just literally life just works out for them. It is because they act like they already have it. Now, the reason why you don't have the money yet is because you're acting poor. You're acting broke. The language that you're using is poor people language. The actions that you're doing is poor people actions. Now, one thing that I used to do when I did not have that much amount of money was I would never, ever go spend money on myself. Like, I wouldn't spend the extra money to like get my hair done or get my nails done. Like, I would hoard and I would save my money because I was raised in a household where like save your money, like money doesn't grow on trees. So of course, since I saved all my money, like money wasn't flowing to me. And I was such in a broke identity, in a broke state, to a point where like I was repelling clients away from me. I was repelling opportunities away from me because every single thing that I saw and everything that I looked at was like, people are out to get me. Like, life is just out to get me. But when I started to act as if I already had $100,000, all the doubts went away. All the fears went away. All the negative talk went away, because if I was making that much amount of money, I wouldn't be talking shit about myself. I wouldn't be talking about how bad my life is. I wouldn't be hoarding all my money and not getting my nails done, even when I had the money to do it. And this is where a lot of people get tripped up on, because they're like, oh, I don't live that state yet, so like, how do I act it? Like, I can't fake being happy, right? But the thing is, when you realize the reason why you want the money is because, yes, the money is going to bring you, you know, the products and the vacation and like the bags and the jewelry and all that stuff, but the reason why you want that money is because of how it's going to make you feel. It's going to make you feel happy. It's going to make you feel luxurious. It's going to make you feel more put together. But guess fucking what? You can do that right now. Like, you can feel happy right now. You can feel loved right now. You can feel put together right now. But most people don't choose to do that. But I had no choice. Like, I literally was not going to live at my dad's house my entire life. So I'm like, okay, I have to gaslight myself and act as if I already am making that money. So I start to dress better. I start to talk with confidence, with certainty, with conviction. I start to post every single day on social media, because I'm like, okay, if I have a business that's bringing me in 6 figures a year, multi 6 figures a year, you bet your ass that I'm going to be posting every single day selling my product. There was no fear anymore. There was no scarcity. There was no lack. There was no what if people don't buy. Because I'm like, people are buying. People are waiting. People are waiting to buy my offers. So acting as if you already have your desires, your goal, is the first thing to gaslighting yourself and making $100,000 this year. The second thing I did to gaslight myself into making that much money is making moves and taking action as a 6-figure earner. Now, hear me out. This kind of goes hand in hand with acting as if you already have it, but this takes it up another notch. Now, making moves and taking action could be something like starting that business that you've been thinking about for months now. It could be quitting the job that doesn't actually value you, or maybe it is leaving that relationship that's actually holding you back from making a lot of money and thriving in your own self. Now, one big move I did before I was making any money on social media was I actually invested $10,000 of the money that I did not have, by the way, because like, story time, this is what happened. $10,000 into a mentor that was going to guide me and help me build my business. Because like what I started with this video, I did not know how to sell. I did not know how to make $1 on my own. And I found someone who had built a business on their own from the ground up. And I'm like, I need to learn from you. Like, I need to. So I had to make the big move of investing into myself to learn the skills, to get in front of, you know, the person who had basically the life that I want to live. Now, once again, this does not mean you have to spend all your money to like make money. Like, I don't even believe that's true. But for me, that was the aligned action that I had to take. My higher self was telling me, hey, if you actually want this to work, if you actually want to make money, you need to make big moves. So guess what happened? When I invested that money, the very next month, I was making $500 a month. The very next month, I made my first $10,000. I made my first $10,000 the very next month. And it was because I made that big move. It was because I had the support. It was because I learned all the skills that I didn't know, right? So for you, you might have a big move in mind. It might be moving to a different location. It might be getting a new job. It might be like hanging out with new friends. It might be a big move that you've once again been thinking about, but it is just scaring you a little bit, right? But gaslighting yourself to do it is basically telling yourself that like, hey, this big move is actually going to be the pathway to you making $100,000. Like, that's what I told myself. I'm like, okay, this is just like technically the next step that I need to take in order for me to make that money. So I did not overthink it. I did not dwell in like how is this going to work? Like, that wasn't even a conversation in my head. And what I was going to say was, I did not have $10,000. So I actually put on my credit card, right? I had like $1,000 or like $2,000 that I did give in cash as a payment plan. And then the rest I put on my credit card. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to figure it out. Okay. I gaslit myself. I'm like, I'm going to have the money that's going to come in and pay off my credit card. And guess fucking what? It actually happened, right? That actually happened. So that is the second thing you want to do, is you want to make big moves. You want to take big actions as if, once again, you already had the money. Now, the third thing I did to gaslight myself into making $100,000, over $100,000 in my 20s, is listening to the way I was speaking to myself. Your words are spells. The language that you are using is a direct reflection of the money you're bringing in and the worthiness that you're holding within yourself. And I want to say this is probably one of the most important things that I changed and that I shifted and adjusted in order to, once again, make this much amount of money in my 20s. So when I would go out to eat or go to the mall, and when I looked at the price tag at something, or maybe someone was driving a car that I wanted, before I would tell myself, that's expensive. I can't have that. Like, that's crazy. That's so much money. I stopped saying that. Because guess what? Every time you tell yourself that, your subconscious brain will register that and guarantee you that you do not have the money to afford it, that it is very expensive, that is just not in your future. So instead of telling myself those things, every single time I saw something that I wanted, I'm like, oh, I can have that. I have the money to pay that. It is on its way to me. Like, I literally gaslit myself. I was like, oh yeah, I can have that. Like a jet. Oh yeah, I can have that. That's mine too. It's coming to me. Like, I don't need to figure out how. I just need to tell myself that's going to happen. And slowly but surely, like, it happened. One thing that I wanted to do, which is actually going to be the next step of what I did, but one thing that I wanted to do was to move out of my dad's house. Okay. I wanted to move to Florida. I lived in Iowa. I was like clear across the country. First of all, I did not know a single soul in Florida except one person. And I needed the money to move there. Right. So I'm like, okay, I live in a luxury apartment in Florida. I told myself that. I was no longer telling myself that I don't have the money to pay rent. Like, I'm going to have to stay in like a cheap apartment in Florida. No. I started to tell myself I have more than enough money to live in a luxury apartment in Florida. And guess fucking what? It happened. I now live in a luxury apartment in Florida. So your language, the way that you speak to yourself, it matters. It matters so much. If you're telling yourself that you have to work a job in order to make money, that's what's happening to you. I did not tell myself that, even though I didn't know how it was going to happen. I told myself, I get paid to exist. Thousands of dollars come my way every single time I make a post on social media. Even if I was just posting fucking quotes, money was just coming my way because I believed in that. That is like, this is the difference, guys. Like, let me just say, this is the difference between people who will literally do a 360 in their life, make hundreds of thousands of dollars from being broke, to people who are living an average life and are stuck in their average life forever. It is because they're not changing their language. They're not changing their thought patterns. They're not changing their identity. They are stuck in the same cycle over and over again. If you keep telling yourself that you suck, your life sucks, everything is too hard, everything is too expensive, you cannot afford it, that is what is manifesting for you. So if you want to gaslight yourself truly to make $100,000, $200,000, however much money you want, change your speech. Do not ever say again that you don't have enough money and you cannot afford it, because that is what's manifesting for you. Now, the last thing I did to gaslight myself into making so much money in my 20s is I planned for the future. Okay. I planned for the future, and I acted, once again, kind of acting as if, but I acted as if the events in the future that I wanted were already happening. So I want to share the story of how I actually moved from Iowa to Florida and how I made the decision of doing it. So this was back in 2019, because I actually moved at the end of January of 2020, right before COVID and the pandemic happened. So of August of 2019, I was talking to my friend who actually lived in Florida, and she was the only person that I knew. And I'm like, okay, I need to move. I don't know how it's going to happen. Like, I have some money saved. Like, I had enough money saved to maybe last me like a month or two there. And I'm like, okay, it's either I wait and I sit there on my ass and just like wait until the perfect time for me to move, or I just once again act as if I already have the money, act as if I'm going to find an apartment, act as if my business is going to take off, and just like do it. Like, basically just jump. So in August of 2019, I made the decision to put a date of when I was going to move. And for some reason, what just felt really good for me was January of 2020. Like, at the end of January, I was going to pack up my bags, drive across the country, and restart my life in Florida. So I had a few months to like kind of like get myself together, but you will never believe what happened. I started to attract the clients. I started to make a little bit more money. But when I moved in January from Iowa to Florida, the first month in Florida, guess how much money I made in my business? Zero. I actually made $0, okay? Because I was so focused on finding a place. Because once again, when I moved to Florida, I was living with my friend for about a month before I actually found an apartment. Like, when I say I literally like got up and left, that's what I did. I planned for the future. I'm like, okay, this is my life because I have a 6-figure business. Everything works out for me. So if I just move to Florida, everything is going to manifest. Okay? And like, I'm going to find a partner there too, because I was going through like the worst heartbreak. Like, let me tell you, that's like a story for another video. But I got there, I found an apartment, and the first person that I met there that was actually my realtor turned out to be my now like 4-year boyfriend, soon to be fiance. Okay. And all of a sudden, my business took off. Okay, I found an apartment to live in. I found my boyfriend. COVID happened. Guess what? When COVID happened, every single person needed to be on social media. And I was amazing at branding, creating content. So every single person literally flocked to me. I started to make $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, $15,000 a month. That year, October 2020, I had my first $50,000 month. $50,000 a month. When that February of 2020, I made $0. Tell me how that is possible. Tell me how that's logically possible. Like, if you were to ask somebody strategically, how does this happen? They won't tell you that, because strategically, like, that it's a fluke, it's a coincidence. You can't logically predict that at all whatsoever. Right? When you create business plans, it's like, oh, the first month you're going to make like $5, then $10, then $20, then it's going to take you 3 years to make like $50,000 in a month. Like, no, I gaslit myself into believing when I moved to Florida, I'm just going to make a lot of money. It is just going to happen. Guess what it did? When you make jumps like that, when you plan for the future, and when you just tell yourself that when you do something, it's going to happen, and when you actually believe in it, it is going to work. Now, every example that I shared with you guys in this video, they were extremes because I'm a very extreme person, and I believed in myself. I knew that if I did it, it was going to happen, right? So for you, you want to start off with what you actually believe in. If you're extremist like me and you're just going to jump, take action, believe, and like figure out on the way, do it. If you're somebody who like just thrives by taking smaller action, do it. Right? Do it. But what I want you guys to do after watching this video, right after this, is go do something that your future self would do if you already had the money. What is that thing? What is it? Is it booking a trip? Is it going to a coffee shop? Is it breaking up with your boyfriend and finding someone better? Like what is it? Is it starting that business? You have intuitions, you have thoughts, you have nudges to take action. But I guarantee a lot of you guys don't follow that because you're scared. But we are not scared anymore because we are gaslighting ourselves to make so much money this year. So if you guys love this video, as always, don't forget to subscribe because we are on the journey of reaching 100,000 subscribers, family members, because this is why I created this channel, guys. Like, honestly, my life has changed being on YouTube. My life has changed being on social media. My life has changed with this work. And I remember telling myself, if I learn how to change my life, if I learn how to change my mind, if I learn how to change my financial situation, everything, that I'm going to dedicate my entire life in helping everybody else do the same thing. So share this video with somebody who needs to gaslight themselves a little bit to make more money, because your entire life is going to change when you adopt this identity and this perspective. So until next time, I love you guys so much, and make sure that you stay unforgettable.